This is the Your Career Story podcast, and you're listening to episode 49, How to Leverage LinkedIn Without Getting Fired. Welcome to Your Career Story podcast, a show that's designed for rockstar professionals looking for that extra booster shot of confidence in their careers. Whether you're trying to get clarity on a job transition, want some work-life balance inspiration, or need a strategy to snag that promotion or raise, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Jenna Viviano, ex-Wall Streeter turned startup junkie who now coaches hundreds of clients, empowering them to take back control of the job search and land their dream job. So sit back, grab a glass of wine, and prepare yourself for your weekly boost of career confidence. Hi, friends. Welcome back to another episode. I am really excited to talk with you a little bit about my favorite tool, LinkedIn. But we're going to be talking about a question that I got a lot when I was doing resume and LinkedIn, just kind of one-off. I no longer do that anymore. But when I was revamping people's LinkedIn profiles and they were learning how to leverage it and how to use it in their job search, one of the big questions that I got was, well, Jen, I'm a little nervous about updating my profile. I know I need to, but I'm a little worried about it because I don't want my boss to find out. How do I avoid that? So that's what we're going to be talking about in today's episode. And that's a totally valid question. I think a lot of people, especially if you haven't updated your profile in a really long time, you are so worried that any update that you make, it's going to blast out to your network and your boss is going to know and they're going to assume that you're looking for a new job because why else would you be using LinkedIn? So we're going to be talking about in this episode today, the lies that you're believing about that whole scenario that's potentially could happen. We're going to talk about the different rules of thumb or quick tips that I recommend when thinking through how to leverage LinkedIn without getting fired. I'm going to give you some pointers about what you should absolutely include in your profile and what you don't have to worry about if you really are concerned about your boss finding out. And then we're actually going to talk about, let's say that they do corner you and question you. Let's go worst case scenario. What do you say when they find out? So this is going to be a jam-packed episode, and I'm really excited to walk you step by step through some of the things that I've talked with my one-on-one clients about, but also just what I'm seeing in the marketplace and how LinkedIn is becoming a more prevalent resource for the majority of professionals. So here's the lie that you are believing, that if your boss finds out that you're updating your profile, that you're going to get fired immediately. So I think we have this fear in our brains that the scenario is going to happen where your boss is like always on your LinkedIn profile, always updating it and always trying to see like, are they trying to leave, right? That's like the thing we have in our brain. First of all, if your boss is actually doing that, they are a micromanager and they have some problems. We can go back to the micromanager episode. I have a micromanager, how to deal with micromanager course on LinkedIn Learning. So you can watch that. That's a totally different episode, but that is their problem. That is not your problem. And I think a lot of people are so worried that their boss is constantly on their LinkedIn profile and is monitoring it. My question to you is, if they're monitoring it, why are they monitoring it? That is their own problem. They've got their own issues if that's the case. And you probably don't want to be there anyways, and maybe they'll fire you and give you severance. Like, I know that sounds really drastic and crazy, but who wants to deal with that, right? If somebody is micromanaging your LinkedIn profile and constantly looking at it, they have fear that you're going to leave, which they need to deal with that as a manager and how to potentially improve that relationship, not treat it from a tyrannical perspective. So the other thing that I think that goes in conjunction with that is that we think that our bosses are going to be looking at it all the time. I work with a lot of people who are leaders. The people that are in my Recruit the Employer program often have people that report to them. And I can affirm to you and assure you that they are not constantly on the people who they employ or even the people that they manage. They're not on their LinkedIn profile daily. They're worried about getting work done. So I want you to stop taking this narrative in your brain, assuming that your manager cares so much about that, right? And is out to get you all the time. I think that's a really unhealthy way to live. And maybe you guys do have managers that are kind of unruly is probably the best way to describe it. They've got their own emotional issues that they're dealing with their workplace identity. And you cannot worry about that. At the end of the day, you are responsible for your career and helping to move yourself forward. And LinkedIn is the best tool that's out there now. The other thing that I think about is that LinkedIn is no longer just a job search platform. And so if you're thinking that I'm so worried that if I update my profile, they're going to think that I'm trying to change a job. I work with plenty of people nowadays who maybe aren't trying to leave their job tomorrow, but they're trying to prepare and be proactive for the future. And we're going to get into like what to say with with somebody if they do kind of corner you, because I think it's going to help give you a little bit more of a perspective on how to approach this and how to think about updating your profile. The other thing is that when you're updating your profile, it does not automatically assume you're looking to find a new job tomorrow. Again, my clients will oftentimes update their profile when they're maybe ready to move in 6 months, but they're trying to prime it because they realize that LinkedIn is a personal branding platform. It is a place to establish thought leadership. It is a place to uncover new networking opportunities, and it is a great place to uncover potential jobs for the future. It is not just a job search platform. There's so many things to do on LinkedIn now, and there's more and more research and articles, and it's becoming more culturally appropriate and actually smart to build up your personal brand. I actually have managers who are reaching out to me, asking me to help their team manage their personal brands on LinkedIn. So if that's happening, I want you to get rid of the narrative that you've been believing for a long time that LinkedIn's only for job searching, which it's not, and that people are going to automatically assume that the reason why you're updating your profile is because you want to change a job. That may be part of the equation, but it's not the full equation, because you should absolutely be leveraging LinkedIn in your personal brand and in your professional life in general. It is a tool. It is not the only tool in the toolkit, but it is a tool. So those are some of the things that I really, really want you to be thinking about. And the other thing that I think that is a lie that people believe about their careers or about LinkedIn specifically is that they can find a job without leveraging LinkedIn, or that LinkedIn's not really as important, that your resume is more important, because you can do that in secret and LinkedIn feels really public. The reality is that the majority of people make connections on LinkedIn, they're finding jobs on LinkedIn, and they're building their platforms on LinkedIn. So if you're not utilizing LinkedIn because you're fearful of some little thing that could potentially happen that hasn't happened yet, that's where you're going to be having a mistake. So I want you to kind of expand the way that you're thinking about LinkedIn, expand the way that you are worrying, and realize that worry is probably just a worry. It's probably not based in reality, because has that ever happened to you? Now, I know someone is going to reach out to me and say, it happened to me. And I would say, your boss was crazy. Because the majority of people, 9 times out of 10, that is not going to be the case. Now, with that in mind, here's some rules of thumb. You don't want to say, if you're trying to keep your search secret, right? You're not going to post on your profile that you're seeking new opportunities. Don't be a bonehead, right? Don't say you're seeking new opportunities. And actually, quite frankly, even if you're in between jobs, I hate that title. And what you don't realize maybe about the talent acquisition marketplace and how recruiters are really focused in today's day and age. Again, I read a lot of recruiter blogs about finding passive candidates. And passive candidates are those candidates that are in a job right now and they're happy in their job, but they would be willing to move if it was for the right opportunity. And so if you're putting on your headline that you're seeking new opportunities, it can come across as a little bit as desperate. Now, there's a difference between coming across as desperate and being proactive. Now, I've seen some people do it really well. Just recently, there's a huge layoffs at Wayfair, and I saw this woman post on LinkedIn that she was a part of those layoffs and that she doesn't know a ton of people in the Boston area, and she would love for their connections just to even buy them a cup of coffee, to connect with them. And then I shared that because I was like, that is an amazing way to say seeking new opportunities when it's appropriate and you're being proactive and not desperate about it. I've also seen people who've posted on LinkedIn saying, I'm seeking new opportunities. Here's all the problems that I have. I need money tomorrow. Like, that looks really, really desperate. No one's going to hire you. They may, but it's not the right approach, right? You want to look confident, secure, and like, yes, this has happened to you, but now it's time to move on. So if you're in a job currently and you're trying to leverage LinkedIn, don't be dumb. Don't say you're seeking new opportunities on your profile anywhere or post it. The other thing is that you want to figure out your privacy settings. So my recommendation is to go into your privacy settings and make sure that you turn off notifications for updates to your profile. So that's the number one thing that you can do that's not going to blast to everybody that you updated your profile. So for instance, let's say you haven't updated your profile in a really long time and you are adding in maybe experiences that you've had since your last time you updated. That's going to alert to your network if you don't change the privacy settings on the back end. That doesn't alert people about your work anniversary or doesn't alert people about changes to your profile. So you just want to make sure that you hit that setting first. And there's a bunch of tutorials online on how to do that really, really well. And to make sure that the people that you don't want to be seeing it are not seeing it, right? I make updates to my profile honestly on a weekly basis, and it never blasts my audience on the updates that I'm making. And typically LinkedIn has made it now so that you're really only updating people if you get a new job. So if you add a new experience and you say you're currently at that experience, it's going to show your group, all of your news feed that you've got a new job. And that's going to where you run into a little bit of a risk of telling, alerting basically your whole entire network, including your boss, if your boss is in your network, that you have added and updated your profile. So just make sure that you figure out the privacy settings. The other question I get a lot is when it comes to, do I put on the recruiter toggle? So there's a feature on LinkedIn that will say, I want recruiters to reach out to me or are currently seeking new opportunities. Is my employer going to find out? So LinkedIn is working the feature is not perfect. So I'll just lead with that. The feature is not perfect. However, they have said that they are making it so that people within your own organization can't search for you if you say that you're open to new opportunities. So that means, let's say you work for Disney, and recruiters that work for Disney are not going to be able to find your profile that you are seeking new opportunities. They're not going to get alerted that you're seeking new opportunities. The other thing that I recommend is if you're worried about it, just un-LinkedIn your boss or don't accept their invitation, or maybe it's some other people that are key players, maybe different recruiters or HR people within your organization. Maybe un-link them if you're worried about that. So that's another way to kind of get around it, is that there's not complete privacy in terms of if you're seeking new opportunities on LinkedIn, but there are ways in which that the feature allows and prevents the people within your organization from actually finding you and seeking you out if they're searching for those passive candidates, which is typically, again, what recruiters are doing. Want to know the one place you can land a date, a job, and a multiple 5-figure partnership? LinkedIn. Don't believe me? I've literally had all 3 happen to me personally. If you aren't on LinkedIn or aren't actively using LinkedIn, you could be missing out on so many opportunities, and not just jobs, but money and connections and content. Heck, maybe even your future spouse. Now, if that happens, I fully expect an invite to the wedding. But I know that finishing up your profile has been probably at the bottom of your to-do list. You haven't prioritized the time, you don't know what to write on your profile, you hate talking about yourself, so you procrastinate. And honestly, you don't know what you don't know. That's why I am so excited to share with you my LinkedIn by Lunch course that is designed to help you finish your LinkedIn profile in 3 hours or less. No more procrastinating, no more excuses. Opportunities, I am ready for you. So mark your calendars, because this amazing course is going to take all of the guesswork out of completing your LinkedIn profile. Head on over to www.jennaviviano.com/LinkedIn to learn more. I've written and reviewed hundreds of LinkedIn profiles, and I know what recruiters and hiring managers and clients are looking for. In this course, I'm letting you in on all of my secrets to writing a rockin' LinkedIn profile that's going to snag the attention of your dream employer or client. I'm going to give you the step-by-step formula to write your profile with ease, brag about yourself in a humble way, and get connected to your dream professional contacts. Again, to enroll today, head on over to www.jennaviviano.com/LinkedIn. I have never in my life, and if this has happened to you, let me know, but I've never heard of somebody put on seeking new opportunities and then them getting fired because a recruiter found that they were seeking new opportunities at their current company and told their boss. And then that whole train, that's just so much work and so much excess that at the end of the day, people are trying to just get stuff done. They're not necessarily worried about that. Now, if your direct boss finds out that you're unhappy, or if they can feel completely blindsided that you're unhappy, that is on you that you didn't have that conversation. I'm thinking of somebody in particular where they're having a lot of struggles with work right now and they're having those conversations. So it is no shocker if they decide to end up going somewhere else. It's usually not a huge surprise. If you're living under an environment where it's like you can't ever say that you potentially are interested in learning or going somewhere else, and your manager is not supportive of that, you have a really bad manager and you want to leave anyways. And 2, you are looking at your career from a very reactive standpoint versus a proactive standpoint. If you listen to last week's episode, we were talking about going from an employee mindset to a CEO mindset. And a CEO is going to put themselves forward and be proactive in their career, and they're not going to really worry about all those other things. So my hope for you is that you are not putting on that you're seeking new opportunities. You figure out the privacy settings and you realize that there are some issues potentially with putting on that you're interested in recruiters reaching out to you. But again, I have never heard of somebody getting dinged at work because a recruiter within their own firm found them. So I would not worry about that if that's what you're worried about. Leverage LinkedIn, build up your profile, make sure that it's presenting you as the right candidate for the job that you want at the company that you want. And don't worry about the rest of it. It is not worth your time to go back and forth and back and forth. And the last thing that's a pretty obvious rule of thumb, but I know it's really easy to do because I've been there. If you're unhappy in your job, it's really easy to hop on LinkedIn and search for other jobs. If you're really worried about your privacy in your job search, don't do that. It's just kind of rude to do that on company time regardless, because you want to be able to finish well and you don't want anybody to say bad things about you when it comes to your career and your quality of work. And so my recommendation is don't job search at work, job search on your lunchtime, not with a company computer, because some companies, especially in the financial world, I know this was true for me, being on a company computer, they actually monitor a lot because they have to from a regulatory standpoint. So that's when some of those issues would come into play. Maybe they have, don't email about new opportunities with your work email. Like that's just dumb. Don't do that. So the same thing holds true. Like don't be on LinkedIn unless it's relevant for your job in the middle of the day searching for jobs. So I would just recommend not doing that. Now that hopefully I've convinced you it's okay to leverage LinkedIn in your job search and you don't have to worry about getting fired 9 times out of 10, I want you to think a little bit about your profile and what your profile might be missing. So I'm going to give you 4 things that you absolutely need to have on your profile for it to be finished and for you to be attracting opportunities. 1, you have to have a profile picture and you have to have that public. So I have a lot of people who create so many privacy settings that they don't want anyone to find them. And that completely defeats the purpose of LinkedIn. LinkedIn works for you while you sleep. Let it work for you while you sleep, right? And so having a presence on there, you want to make sure you have an up-to-date photo, something that's been done in maybe the last 2 to 3 years. Anything past that, you need an updated photo. Best places to get that are TaskRabbit actually is a really great place where photographers may hop on there and they'll do a quick photo shoot with you. You can get them from $50, $100, $150. They're great photos just to have of you for your personal brand. So you should do that. The second thing that you need to have on your profile is a really solid headline. So this is where I was saying people will say, I'm seeking new opportunities on my headline. I don't really love that because it doesn't make you super searchable. What makes you really searchable is having keywords in your headline that's going to highlight what you're looking for in the future or what a recruiter could potentially search for. So let's say you want a VP of marketing role, you're in a VP marketing role. Oops, sorry guys, I just dropped my water bottle. Let's say you're in a VP of marketing role. Real time, guys. This is not always perfect. Let's say that you want a VP of marketing role and you're currently in a VP of marketing role, right? You're going to put probably VP of marketing on your headline because you want recruiters that are searching for VP of marketing roles to find you. You track, right? So I think it's really important to have a really, really solid headline. The third thing that I want you to make sure that you do is you have a summary section. So we're moving our way down the LinkedIn profile. You need to have a summary section. We actually have a freebie that you can get. And if you go to jennaviviano.com/summary, that's going to be where you can find that to how to write a LinkedIn summary. We also go through exactly step-by-step how to do that in the LinkedIn course. I give you examples. It's very plug and play, super easy peasy. The LinkedIn summary is more about just telling your story. And this is where I really approach LinkedIn from a personal branding platform. You need to think of your LinkedIn profile not just as like a resume. You need to think about your LinkedIn profile as a personal branded website, because that's essentially what it is nowadays. More and more companies are relying on LinkedIn versus resumes to find their ideal candidates. Make sure that it's robust. Make sure that it's finished. The summary section is an opportunity for you to tell your story and contextualize the experience, which is number 4. Number 4 is you need to make sure that you are showcasing the experience that you currently have and have had in the past, barring any part-time positions. I don't think they're necessary to put on there. And really making sure that your experience section really showcases what you've been capable of doing and highlighting keywords that identify with the jobs that you're trying to apply for. So I'm really, really conscious about making sure you have at least those 4 things. If you need help with that, if you're feeling like you're like, okay, I know that I need to do those 4 things. I don't have all 4 of those things done really, really well. We have some resources for you. And we also have the LinkedIn by Lunch course, which again, has helped people really understand how to get their LinkedIn profile up to a good position and make it easy to write. It does not have to be hard, crazy, labor intensive thing. It can be really, really easy to write. And we want to make it easy for you. So once you figured out, okay, I'm realizing that it's important for me to leverage my LinkedIn if I'm using my job search. I'm not going to worry about my boss. Here's what I need to do on my profile. Let's say, worst case scenario, that your boss is stalking you virtually and finds out that you're updating your profile. They're taking before and after photos. Like think about how ridiculous this is, first of all. They're taking before and after photos of you, of your profile, and realizing, wow, she's updating her profile a lot. I bet she's trying to leave. I'm going to confront her. And sends you an email and say, hey, can you come into my office? And you go into your boss's office, and he or she says, so I noticed on LinkedIn that you're updating your profile. Are you looking to leave? And then you sit there with a deer in headlights look, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I'm caught. I'm going to get fired tomorrow. They're never going to give me severance. They know that I'm looking elsewhere. This is terrible. This is terrible. This is terrible. You're going through the whole narrative, right? Here's what I want you to say if they do find that out. I would say, I just know that LinkedIn's really an important part of my career and my professional development. So I have seen a lot of people in our industry really update their LinkedIn profiles to help connect with other people in our industry. And I just found like it's really an important piece to my own development. So I am updating my profile. Doesn't necessarily mean that I'm looking to find a new job tomorrow, but I want to make sure that I'm equipped for the long term in my career, as I'm sure that you are. Right? So if they have a problem with you branding yourself and doing something the rest of the world is doing, again, that's their problem. I have never heard of an HR department being like, you're updating your LinkedIn profile. This is inappropriate. Unless you are in a very regulated industry. That is the only caveat to this whole conversation, is sometimes regulated industries get very cagey about what you can put on your profile, and you have to abide by your HR rules. Typically, you'll see this in government entities. You're going to see this maybe perhaps in nonprofits. And then also you're going to see it in maybe healthcare or especially in finance. My finance folks have the hardest time updating their profiles. And most people in finance really don't do a good job of building their brand online because it is so regulated. So this does not necessarily apply to you if you have a really regulated industry where they require you to put certain things on your profile. And that may be the case for you. So if they do find out and they do corner you about it, the worst that can happen is you have a conversation around professional development, or they realize that you're unhappy and you can have a really honest conversation about what things you want to improve for you to stick around. I think honesty and clarity is kindness. And so for you to have build that rapport and build that trust with your manager, I think overall that really makes a difference in your career and also the way that you look at yourself in your career. So I want you to take the bull by the horns. I don't want you to worry about leveraging LinkedIn and getting fired, because 9 times out of 10, it's not going to happen. You really need to make sure that you're bolstering up your profile. You make sure that you're being more active on LinkedIn and that you're leveraging that platform for all the amazing things that it has. There are great thought leaders that produce amazing content on LinkedIn. If we are not connected, not that I'm saying that I'm the most amazing thought leader, but I do produce a ton of content. So if you want more career content, you've been loving this profile, connect with me on LinkedIn. Follow me on LinkedIn. I produce stuff that's free and easy for you to take and implement for yourself. There are things that are going to make you think differently about your career and more practical tips and step-by-step guides. So there's a ton of people on LinkedIn that are producing content that can be really, really beneficial for you in your career, if nothing else. Right? So think about LinkedIn from a bigger perspective of just having your profile and just using it for job searching. It is so much more than that. And I would really, really encourage you to leverage the platform in different ways. The other thing that I want to recommend is you should sign up for LinkedIn Learning. LinkedIn Learning is a great professional development site. A lot of companies actually have a subscription for their employees with LinkedIn Learning. So I would check in with your HR department about if your organization has a partnership with LinkedIn Learning, because they have thousands of courses on different subject matters, anything from career development to personal development to learning new skills. Like, that is a great resource for you to also be on LinkedIn at work. That's from a non-job searching standpoint. It's a great place, especially if you're a sales leader, to find new prospects. It's just an amazing platform that is well beyond just the confines of finding a new job. So when you look at it from that perspective, I don't want you to be worried about getting fired. All right, guys, this was a short and sweet one, but I'm so grateful that you were here. Hopefully this was helpful for you. I want you to give me what your biggest takeaway was today. Connect with me over on LinkedIn and let's make sure that we build this community together. All right, guys, I will see you next week. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for listening to Your Career Story podcast. I would love to get to meet you. And there are a couple of ways that we can connect in between episodes. First and foremost, you know I love my LinkedIn. Second is via Instagram. And third is over on my website. I actually have a special spot just for you full of fun, free resources. So all you have to do is go to www.jennaviviano.com/resources. Super simple, for a bunch of freebies that will help you boost your career. Hope to see you next week.